Okay, with our last adjustment adding the anchor links around our card titles, let's continue some maintenance to our documents so that as we move along, this will be a little more easy to work with. We're going to focus now on the CSS side and do a couple pieces of maintenance. First, we're going to just focus on doing some labels. We have a lot of CSS that we're going to be writing here, and I'm going to want to use labels within our CSS so we can navigate within our CSS document and find everything. So we're first going to label the reset, and if you've never done this before, you can do a label in CSS with the backslash star reset, some whatever text you write, star backslash, and you can see that's a reset. But you can also type some text and then do command on a Mac or control on a PC backslash, and that text is then wrapped with the comment out syntax for the particular language whichever you're working in. Technically it works the same in HTML, so I could type some text and then command backslash, and you can see it uses the whatever language's syntax for commenting. It wraps that text with the syntax that's appropriate for the language. So that's for HTML, and it does the same for JavaScript if you're familiar with JavaScript's syntax as well. So we've labeled our reset here. Let's move down. Next, we're going to label this area, which is our kind of core typography, right? So we have our typography. Okay. And then we're going to move on to look at, here is our core page layout. All right. And then finally we have our, or not finally, there's a lot more. Then we have our, and we should label this appropriately, our, let me do this. This is our base typography because we're going to we make a lot of changes to the typography throughout. We have our page layout, and in fact, let's do two things. This technically, this image, let's clean up. This image belongs as part of our general reset, actually. Okay, and then I think it's appropriate to have our, nope, that's fine. We'll leave our page layout there. I was going to put that in front of our typography, but I like it there. Okay, and so now let's focus on our card. So this is our, basically our card layout. All right, this is the card, the main card layout here. And if you think about it in particular, this is the card container layout that we're looking at, and that's, here's the core where we set the card, and we have our main, and then we have feature hero. So next we have our card media, layout right here. Okay, and then within the card media we have the card media card image layout. All right, and I'm trying to label these based on how it descends. So the card image is inside of the card media, so I'm giving this label here first, and in fact maybe we'll put a dash so we know that that's true. All right, next we have the card body. All right, whoops, and you can see the particular for the main version and the hero version. Within the card body we have our different sets of types of text that we need to mark out. So we have the card body dash card category. All right. Then within the category, after the category, we have our card body, card title. Let's use our dashes again. Then we have the card body, card slug. All right, this is the slug text where the preview of the article is given. And then finally the card body, card, I'm forgetting my dashes here. All right, and the card byline. All right, and within the byline we have the author and the date. All right, I'm not going to label those, but you can note we have the author and the date. Okay, because there's not a whole bunch of changes that happen to these, so I'm not going to, but those are within the byline. And just as a reference, if you remember, within the byline, right, that the author and the date are within the byline. All right, author and date. Okay, so with those labeled, we're on the right track, but we're going to learn something new. So that was just basic labeling of our CSS, and that's practical. So when I reference to various parts of our CSS, I can mention the area, and as we write unique CSS for the particular types of cards, hopefully it'll be easier to navigate and find the areas of the CSS document that we're editing. But what I want to introduce you to is something called CSS Variables. We're going to manage our colors and variables because we're going to keep calling for this dark orange, this light orange, this gray, this lighter gray. This isn't white, it's actually a light gray, and then we're going to be using a darker gray. This is actually a darker gray right here compared to this gray. And so we're going to use something called CSS Variables, and I'm going to show you how they work first. So we're going to Google CSS Variables and the MDN documentation on that. And what we do is CSS Variables allow us to assign a value, say for example, main color black. And this is the, the core color value black. It's, you could put a hexadecimal value here, or you could put an RGB value here, but whatever. But this syntax, dash dash, name a variable, and then save a value for it. Okay, and the way we do this is we save these values into the root of the document so that they're available anywhere within the HTML document. And so we have main color brown. And then the next part is to call those values using this var function. So we'd say var, open parentheses, call the variable name, close parentheses, and then the CSS document will call brown in this situation and assign it to the background color. So it just makes it easier so we can remember just what our colors are and then just call them by a name rather than trying to constantly remember that hex value. So let's do that. We're going to create a new section and we're going to call them our color variables. So we're starting by labeling this right away. And we're going to call the root pseudo class and start naming some values. So we're going to have a primary color, and that's going to be our orange, that D8, this one right here. And we're going to have a dash dash primary dash dark, right? And that's the new one we just learned from the link color, and that's the DA. Okay, and then we're going to have some grays. We're going to have our dash dash gray, which is the main gray that we use for text. All right, and that's that 6E, 6E, 6E. And then we're going to have a dash dash gray light. All right, and that's the one where we use our E's, 6 E's, and then dash dash gray dark. And that is our 3B, 3B, 3B. Okay, so now that we've defined some color values here, and you can see how we could add a whole bunch of colors, we can go through our document and we can remember that this is our primary gray. So right here, we can use the var function, and then we can start typing, and it'll know what we want. So we could start typing gray, and it even turns it into the gray because it recognizes it, and we can make sure our semicolon's there, and we can just move through the document, and our headers are all the dark gray. So we would say var gray dark. All right, and we move through all of these, and I'm not sure I'm going to go through all of these right now, and I want you to do all of them. And so we'd say gray light. All right, and we're not going to bother. This is a custom piece of code that I just pulled from the Ringer's website for the linear gradient, so we're not going to bother with doing that, though we could. And we'll do a couple more, and then I'll leave you to it, and that'll be the end of this video. Var primary, right? Var primary, var gray light, all right? And you just go on and on and on, and you'll notice that we're all set. None of the colors have changed, and it auto calculates them. And so when you're all finished, you should move through and make sure you do all of these additional ones on your own. All right, and that's it.